starting to see in our communities are children and young people who are suffering with mental and emotional ill health, and also our men who are now becoming the silent, the silent ones, those who are coping with whatever it is that they're unhappy with silently. For so long it's been about the strong black woman, whilst at home, and this is not with everyone, but at home some of our men are being crushed by these strong black women, these women that have unresolved trauma, these women that have been hurt. And hurt people, but also sometimes when we think that we're the ones that are hurting, we don't also see that other people are hurting as well. We know about our young girls being raped and sexually abused, and we have a legacy of that in our community, but we don't talk about the young men who are abused physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, how they are abused, and how that then has an effect on the adults, the men that they become. We're also talking now about domestic violence and how the original discourse was that of black men abusing and leaving black women. However, we are starting to see a disproportionate shift in more and more men coming forward and speaking up about what it is that they're experiencing in their relationships with their women. We have a section of our community who choose to remain single. We have men in our communities who are living on their own. They have not been able to maintain their families, of which they've invested their time, their hopes, their energies, their dreams. Even if they didn't have the tools and the resources to be able to be the fathers that they wanted to be, each one who creates a child inside ultimately wants to see that energy prosper. But many of our men have been pushed out of their communities, pushed out of their families. Some of them have left. I'm not talking about that. I'm just acknowledging the other side. I'm acknowledging the men who have wanted to be there for their children but have ended up in dysfunctional interactions with their women that has stopped them from doing so. 93% of all child custody battles in the black community, in the African community, in the melanated community are from men who are seeking to get custody of their children. And as I said before, in order for us to really make change, we got to start looking at some of the illusions. We got to start looking at some of the discourse that needs to change within our own homes, within our own communities, within our spaces. We have to start shedding light on these things. We have to be prepared to not keep separating ourselves from each other, but understand that we're both experiencing the same pain. Both sides of the same coin, and that our ascension, our liberation depends on us both seeing each other. It depends on us both knowing who we are, dealing with ourselves, so that we can come together as two wholes and build together. But we have to understand that our brothers, our kings, our men have a story as well. And I'm seeing more and more, call for men's circles and, opportunities for men to come together and communicate what it is that they're feeling. The women are used to doing it. It's our natural nature to speak about the things that we're going through. It's our emotional nature. We are emotional beings. However, for our brothers, the patriarchal imposition of the culture that we have been living in has given them a discourse of the fact that being who they are means that they have to be silent about what they're going through. That they are not encouraged to show understanding, compassion, empathy, emotion. And that's what's kept us out of balance. The divine masculine is balanced in his masculine and his feminine, because that is oneness. He is empathetic and understanding and nurturing to his family, also able to be logical and directive and to guide and to protect. The woman in her also has the masculine and the feminine. This is why you see, especially within our communities, the women can be so dominant. We pull in this energy of unification, and us being the first image of the creator, the first explosion of masculine and feminine energy in one. The potency in which we embody the frequency that we are can be destructive if not kept in balance. One thing that we don't understand, and one thing I'm learning a lot about with the ancestral mothers, is feminine energy is chaos energy. Feminine energy is destruction. If you look at nature, nature has a natural process of birth and rebirth. Okay, even when we look at feminine power, in ancient Yoruba they call it Ayami Aje. It means the feminine power, the natural feminine power. It's been into some people, those women are seen as witches because they're able to take life, they're able to give life and take life. But that is the nature of nature, Mother Nature. That is the nature of Mother Nature. A life giver and a destroyer. We as black women also have to understand that we are the life givers and the destroyers, depending on the aspect of ourselves that we're tuning into. You know, and so we have come out of harmony with ourselves, within and without. Hence why many of our women are also going through fibroids and these things, an attack on their feminine energy, an attack on their womb. And also our brothers. We're seeing so many more people, males in our communities who are, you know, of the homosexual persuasion, who are gay, whatever it is. This is a playing out of these imbalances of masculine and feminine energies. Not saying that, I'm not judging anyone or saying anything is right or wrong. I'm observing it from nature's perspective in terms of how energy is expressed and how energy communicates itself. But we are learning from it, right? Even if somebody falls over in the road, we can learn from that experience. And what we have to learn is that there is a disharmony and an imbalance in terms of the way that we are understanding, harnessing and utilizing our masculine and feminine energies. And so this awakening to the fact that our brothers, our divine kings, our divine masculines are hurting too, is important for the reunification of our families. It's important for the building. It's important for us to understand where it is that we are moving into. When I do my research, I see that our African or melanated brothers and kings are more likely to commit suicide than their white counterparts. They're more likely to have mental health problems and be sectioned than their white counterparts. But they're also most likely to leave it till it gets to a stage where it can be detrimental, because our culture doesn't allow for certain things. It doesn't allow for us to communicate and speak our truth. We are still being held hostage and muzzled like slaves because of the mental conditioning, which doesn't allow us to speak our truths. But if we cannot honor our own painful experiences, then how can we truly honor the painful experiences of others? And how can we stop creating those experiences for each other if we don't understand, if we haven't experienced it for ourselves? This is all part of the reunification that is taking place. And in order for that to happen, it's almost as if we have to switch roles. We have to see each other in our light, in our dark. We have to be really willing to see each other, because that is the only way that change is going to happen. And when I connect with the ancestral mothers, they say to me that all of the things that we see happening in our world right now are because of the separation of the black man and the black woman. For them seeing themselves as separate, everything is separate. Once they understand the power of who they are, everything else comes into harmony and into oneness. So I'm going to share something with you before we go into the break, and then afterwards I would love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your expression about anything that I've said today, but ultimately about this abuse in our community of our brothers. Everything in life must be balanced. What you do for and give to women, you must also do for and give to men. There is no separation. It's one and the same. We, black men and women, have fallen out of balance. Men have fallen out of their hearts and into their heads, and women have fallen over their hearts and into their heads. We have both fallen out of the grace of spirit. We have been conditioned to honor a system of values built on contempt and disrespect for who we are as a community of people. This conditioning has taken us away from certain basic principles that are living memories in our DNA. These principles, which I believe are etched into our subconscious memory, are the keys to our basic nature. As a result of our fall, we are in conflict with both the value system of the society in which we live and our own basic nature of who we are. Black men who instinctually want to stand among the leaders and direct the tides of the living world often sit in fear of being annihilated, eliminated, or worse, hung out or left hanging. Black women who want to stand by or stand up for their male counterparts have been stepped on or stepped over, accused by the very ones they desire to support of being out of their place in an attempt to take over. Although our basic nature is to embrace and support each other while taking the necessary steps towards a collective goal, we have become conditioned to compete with and against each other. We now treat each other as adversaries rather than allies. In all honesty, I, for one, have the ability to identify the very ways and the number of times that I even myself have been guilty of very decisive behavior or divisive behavior. Black men and women struggle to understand and balance our gender roles at home, at work, and within a context of social responsibilities, while many of us are at a total loss as to how to balance our individual, physical, emotional, and spiritual needs and responsibilities. The instinctual nature of the woman is to give and share, yet our conditioning encourages us to see usury and manipulation around every corner. While men love to be cared for and nurtured by a woman, foreign programming makes black men suspicious that we are trying to take over and take control. The basic human instinct is to be loving and caring, and it's often overshadowed by the ego's needs of image building and peer pressure. While mama and daddy preach, do unto others and love thy neighbor, the world teaches us, every man for himself. Fear of losing ground has replaced faith. The urge to give unselfishly is overshadowed by the compulsion to get. Rather than using things to help and serve people, we are taught to use people to get things. In this process, we lose a vital piece of our cultural and spiritual soul. Restoration of what we have lost, which, as I said, is an imbalance. And it's crucial for black men because they are the foundation of our community. In Yoruba culture, the father is the sun and the mother is the moon. While both have an equal share of responsibility in the natural flow and order of life, there is generally greater recognition of the sun. This does not mean that the sun is more important or more powerful. It suggests that there is a conscious level of recognition of the sun's presence, energy, and role. We can see and feel the sun's rays. We are generally asleep when the sun is active. So when the moon is active, we look up to the sun. Our eyes are most probably closed when the moon rises to its fullest form. Still, these two dynamic powers, the masculine energy of the sun and the feminine energy of the moon, occupy the same space, harmoniously, each performing its function without conflict or competition. If the African or melanated community is to re-establish a sense of peaceful balance, black men and black women, melanated men and melanated women, must come once again together and learn how to live in harmony. Harmony is a spiritual concept, not a political, economic, or social construct. It's up to each one of us. The woman must take her place, sometimes silently doing what she knows she is capable of doing, what she knows she must do and can do whether or not the world cares to notice. The role, energy, and presence of the black male spirit must be recognized, realigned, and honored. Only then can the world community in general, with the melanated community specifically, regain balance and order. The major goal of our collective works at this time and the healing is to begin the process of recognition, alignment, and honor of black men and black women, both individually and both as one. It is our duty to come together. It is our duty to be one. It's our duty to support and empower each other. Like black women, black men today are the children of those who chose to survive the horrors of history. It was our ancestors' conscious choice not to give in and not to die. As descendants of the parent race of humanity, we are genetically coded for genius. More important, we are spiritually encoded for divine evolution. It is not a matter of education, economics, or politics. It is a simple fact of life. At the core of every African or melanated man is a power so awesome, so tremendous. It literally boggles the mind, and everything in creation seeks to harness that sacred force. There is a cellular memory of greatness that the black man, the melanated man, cannot allow to lie dormant. Our collective history and current political conditions would lead one to believe that this power has been lost. But nothing is ever lost in spirit. The power of spirit never dies. The power cannot be altered. The power is divine. It is the power, the force, the magnificence of the Creator. And I cannot for the life of me figure out why no one is telling the black man, the African man, how to pull up the power of his spirit and put it to work. So I guess that we are going to have to help each other. It's the matriarchs of our communities who would have put us all into place. And now we have to call upon the wisdom within our own souls. The ancient wisdom that lies within us, in order for us to now come together and create a better future for man, for woman, for child, for all of us as one melanated community. Ashe. So I hope that resonated with you. Send us your messages after the break. We're going to the break just now, and I will be seeing you on the other side where we'll have a little discussion about this. If you want to let me know what your thoughts are, then please do. And this one is to all the brothers. This one is to all the brothers when it decides to work. Yes, sorry. Just a little bit of technical difficulties there. Let me see if I can get this to play. But we'll play it on the other side as well, just to make hear it. But yes, I'm looking forward to hearing your comments on the other side of the ads.